Alright, we're live.
Hello everyone, Bryan here with...
Poor Man 973!
It works better the other way.
Yes, it does. Poor Man 973 has way too many syllables.
I know. Mine fits in one. And we are in a factory that I have spent way too much time... I need to just look at the screen. Way too much time putting together. Started this last year after the release of 1.0 with a friend of ours, David, and his brother. And we started in... Well, I kind of stole their world at a certain point. I kind of stole it from under them. I
Wouldn't
think...
have been the first time you've done it.
I was about to say, I think Daniel has some experience with how this happens. You know, you're just sitting there building a factory and someone else comes in and says, hey, what if we build this giant thing over here to make that part? And just keeps doing that until there's nothing left. But...
Alright, I do want to say that the frames per second are not going to be great on this. Mostly
Right.
because it is so large that my 12-core processor is still struggling.
Man, you're...
But compared, what you guys are seeing apparently is so much more smooth than what he built this thing on.
Yeah, I was down at 8 frames a second. Going through an area like this, it'd be 7 or 8. And man, you start messing with belts or anything, and at points it would drop to 3 or 4. It would just utterly stall out. But yeah,
I forgot to do something. We're gonna hear
I have...
a weird echo if I don't.
Oh, sorry. We're fixing audio. Yeah, so from like some of the first times we played, I had always held a dream in my heart to use everything. It drove him crazy.
I am not what you called an organized factory maker in this game.
Yeah.
My factories are, when I play with Bryan, my factories are a mess. I build, like when we play together, I build the things to get us started, and like the milestones and everything like that. And then Bryan comes up behind me, cleans up my mess.
Which, in fairness, is exactly what I need, because I get so fixated on trying to build the optimal, the ultimate, the complete, whatever it is that we need at the moment, that I never get around to making the stuff to build the factory that I'm trying to build. I just keep putting that off and either keep making things by hand or give up. Which for this one, David and his brother did for me.
Yeah.
They built the factories that built the factories that built the factories that built this factory. Because this is not a starting point by any means. No, this is pretty deep in, and it's just beautiful. Even just this hallway that goes on is...
Say, we've been going so far for 4 minutes, walking down the same hallway,
Yeah.
and we haven't run out of factory.
Yeah. And part of what I want to showcase is just... I love things that are outrageously scaled, that are just over the top, that are superlative in some sense. And if you zoom out from anything far enough, it looks small. You can look at pictures of the Earth taken from like the Voyager satellites. They look small.
Yeah.
It does not look big.
I I think the last picture that one, I don't remember which Voyager took it. It was one or two. Basically, before it stopped really seeing us that much, before its cameras could, because they're old. It was just one pixel of a blue dot. That's the farthest I think Earth has been photographed.
Yeah, and I do love the big things. Which yes, the story I was telling. I have to keep on track. I don't always manage that. So I've always wanted to use it all, and it is technically possible in Satisfactory to use all of an area, to use all the resources in it. The world is finite. It is not a procedurally generated, or I just said Factorio. Satisfactory. It is possible in Satisfactory to use all the world's resources. It's not procedurally generated like a game like Factorio, where everything is indeed infinite. And I played a lot of those. I love them. But the painful part is where games like that always end is either you give out, your computer gives out, or the game breaks. One of those things dies first in pretty much any game. And that was kind of what was happening when we got to the end of where we were playing multiplayer and people were helping me. The reason that ended was the game broke. The multiplayer just fundamentally broke. It couldn't keep up at a certain point. I think David had looked at it, done all the networking he could. We went into settings, we moved everything we could. It was pushing something like 10, 15 megabytes of a second of data, and you were still just getting points where it would just crash out. And it would be, 5-10 minutes to reconnect, which just wasn't viable. Anytime you actually got into the factory, it would just crash out like that. And I had worn out. After the 1.0 release, I got a little intense, is a way to put it, and probably put 500 hours in before we got to the point where it just couldn't keep up anymore. But I had plotted everything out and I'd looked at it and it was really cool, but I was looking at it and I was sure that if we kept going, either the engine was going to break or it wouldn't, and at the end I'd be sitting at 5 FPS and it would just be too miserable to play. That was a weirdly accurate prediction on my part for the frame rate, but it ended up being way more playable. I mean, like this right now, I imagine it looks a bit rough, and it should come through in that. This is 12 FPS. This is well below what in most games is playable. And that it looks choppy, but it has multiple simulation rates, and it's sacrificing the graphical simulations to keep the world moving probably 60-70% normal speed, which is, in these kind of games, it's often what kills you is when you hit 50% or 20% speed. It's unbearable. When things are running at a fifth speed and you're like, okay, I need more of these, I don't know, blue circuits, it's now you have to wait 5 times as long for them, and you build 5 times as much production, but it doesn't matter because the more you build to be able to get things faster, the slower you run. And you know, it's miserable. Or, I don't know, some of the city builder games, you get down to that kind of speed and you're like, okay, trying to earn the money to expand the city and get even more skyscrapers and stuff. Yeah, when it's down to like a fifth speed, it's dead. But this is the graphically at a fifth speed, then less. But because the simulation keeps going, it's actually quite playable. Or at least I argue it is. I don't know that anyone else. I did briefly show you through a stream my computer.
Yeah.
I don't. You might have other comments on how bad it looked.
Definitely hurt my eyes. And yes, Paige, it was like it. Walking down that is like one of those dreams with an infinite hallway.
I'm sorry. This turn is. I've been thinking this. This turn is the best part, because as long as that was before I turned, that wasn't all of it.
I'll say we haven't even seen. I don't think we've seen the entire thing, and
oh no,
we haven't seen it from the air or the place that that the hub is at.
I have to remember to pull up. I have a cheat sheet for numbers.
I was hoping we'd get into some numbers with this thing.
Oh, we will. I've just been stalling. I mean, no. I definitely wouldn't stall for effect. That would be immature and self-aggrandizing or something. Phone. Oh, there you go. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, I do have a spreadsheet for this, because spreadsheets are fun. I haven't convinced anyone else of that fact, but someday, someone's going to agree with me. There kind of needs to be a spreadsheet on something like this, because it's just massive. You could try doing it just the calculators and stuff, but it was easier to do my own spreadsheet. I did a lot of the...
See, I usually a lot of times I play games with you until you dig out the spreadsheet.
Yeah. So this is what happens if you go past that point by about 10 times longer. So if you take however long it takes, are you going to go or am I going to fly?
Don't you have to hit E to make it go?
Oh. Well, it's a person who actually pays attention to the UI. So yeah, if you go past wherever you would usually drop off and then play 10 times longer, this is why you drop off. It gets... I keep going.
See, when originally he had like a big factory, and when I originally pitched this idea for him to do this, he says, "I can't until it's perfect."
It had to be done, and I added a bunch more factory, and then every time I thought about doing it, it was an end point, and I didn't want to let go, so I kept coming up with other things to do. Because I think when we said that, it was about the time that they were doing the year celebration of the factory,
of Satisfactory,
of 1.0's release.
Of 1.0.
And they were doing little celebrations, and they had like little events in the game and stuff. And then I just couldn't be done. But this is where it ended. And what that is every single resource on the map. Almost all of it going to one sink. Concrete, I couldn't think of better uses for limestone, so I needed 12 sinks for like a third of the limestone being turned into concrete. and I know this is a little busy. I kind of regret wrapping the concrete around. It's too much moving. But it's still beautiful to me.
This is when you got on. I believe the first thing you said was, "It's moving."
I know. On my screen, it does not move like this. It does not move smoothly. That is a remarkable thing that happens when you're at 12, 13 FPS and doesn't happen much when you're at 9. It's actually, it's not even just FPS. It's smoother on this. Mine was not running it smooth. It was choppier. And what that is ballistic warp drives, AI expansion servers, heavy modular frames, which aren't worth much, but hey, some plutonium fuel rods and stuff. I think it's 200 of these or something is how you complete the last stage. I'm not entirely sure. David and his brother did that
on the elevator.
On the last stage of the elevator,
just a milestone.
I think the elevator.
Okay. Because I've not actually played 1.0 yet.
Yeah, David and his brother did that on the. I think they got tired of me trying to build the end factory and waiting for me to have production of these resources, and at some point they launched the final elevator, and I was just confused why they were so bothered about the elevator, because obviously the point of this game is to just build the biggest factory. I don't think that it can't be anything else, right? That can't be.
I don't know. I rather like exploring.
But I think it's something like 200 of the ballistic warp drives beats the game. That's how much I make a minute, or every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes.
Yeah. This is the factory going from one end of the map up through to the other, stacked too high. So that hallway we went through at the beginning is only one of the levels.
I was gonna say, we went from there, down the middle, until, well, I guess right about till there.
Walked across down to here,
and now we're here, and
there's that much more. And that's part of why I wanted to start down in that hallway, because if you look at it from here, it just doesn't look like it's that tall.
No, it doesn't.
It looks like, oh, that's gotta, I mean, there's some height there, but it can't be that much. Because if it's that much, then this whole thing would have to be unbelievably massive. Just unimaginably massive. And the answer is, it's unbelievably massive. Every single resource on the map. Sans somewhere I'm misplacing, not quite getting shipped, maybe 10 nitrogen a second, and maybe 50 to 100 iron.
It does kind of look like a microchip from up top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Void no, yeah, that's exactly what it looks. You're right.
It does. It's not the prettiest. That's not my strong point. The aesthetics, there are people who've done aesthetically far better things. This is where the reason this is under is because I'm not getting enough, I'm pretty sure, iron going into those beams. And I have everything set up in an overflow, so only the last one runs dry. And I don't know, there could be minor errors. I tried to chase things down for a long time. See there, that shouldn't be yellow. I tried to chase things down for a long time, by which I mean the last 500 hours of playtime.
Yeah.
This is at 1,500 hours. I don't know how much of it is just the problems of getting 20 belts properly distributed to 50 belts on like an iron or a coal or something like that. But or how much is just that the engine starts to misbehave when it's overloaded to this extreme. It's hard to separate those, and nitrogen's just a nightmare anyways. The iron shouldn't be a problem, but obviously it is a little bit. That's also what will be happening to that one over there, is an iron shortage. Most likely that's what it has been in the past, and part of what it might be is train problems, because this thing is a little ridiculous. Good planning, you would be overclocking these. These aren't overclocked. That's part of why there's so many. Any sane setup would overclock all your machines so that you still have some frames per second at the end. I had done all the planning and built the blueprints without that, and I refused to change my mind and continued to charge forth anyways. But stuff like that, and a lot of these are underclocked too, so that they balance, so that everything runs at 100%. There's a bit of a trick over there with that design that I'll probably talk about eventually, but I have everything coming in over trains, which looks really cool. I want to say it looks really cool. And then I have these balancers that I planned to look nicer, but every time I had to fix them, they looked worse. Let's see. Try and keep everything with various floors balancing all of this out. And this is how 100 iron a minute can get lost. But this is the main train thoroughfare. And if we look at this and we turn off, because it defaults to on all the nodes that are being used. There you can see all the trains that are moving all the raw resources just to the one mega factory, which works out to be, if I check a spreadsheet in this section and scroll down to shipped, 329,098 resources a minute. This isn't like a we hit it just at the right time for it to be busy. This is what this looks like, non-stop, just constant moving things through. And the reason I say I can't mess with the trains is if I tried to add more trains, which I'm not sure would fix any train problems if it's like shipments being missed very slightly, there just isn't space to fit more train tracks. Each of the tracks in needs to connect to each of the three, or to be able to connect to any of the train stations. It would have been too hard to plan otherwise. And so there are 6 or 7 loops. One that goes here, one that goes down through here, one that goes up through here and hooks into this, one that just goes through here, one that goes down through here, and then one goes, 2 that go out to the desert. I've already split it so many ways beyond what I had initially planned. And there are so many rail tracks going through to make that possible. To add another one, it wouldn't just be, adding one more line on. It'd be adding at least 3 more lines through this section. uh, on, it would be unmanageable, and I couldn't just add one because I would need to add one to her. No, I don't think I could. I think I'd almost have to double the number of lines and more than double the number of railways right here. Beyond that, which is also why at a certain point, getting back to talking about where I added more factory on at the end. I had initially only planned to have the parts that build the high value stuff, the ballistic warp drives and the AI expansion servers and stuff like that. But it didn't feel finished enough, and I didn't want to be done. So then I added heavy modular frames to use up the rest of the iron and stuff. And I almost said, okay, that's enough, and went back and said, okay, we can do the video now. But then I was like, well, there's actually still some limestone out there that I haven't used. I mean, limestone's ridiculous. There's way too much of it. And I'll never fit it onto the one belt, which I held on to. The idea of only having the one belt being sunk, I held on to for a very long time. But at the last minute, I was like, it's so close. It is so close to being able to say that it is using all the resources on the map. That I just had to. And so you get belts that come in and are just dragged halfway across the map because they wouldn't fit on any more of the trains. The trains were too full.
I did notice that there was belts running alongside the train route.
Yeah. And that happened because, there was no way to put trains or to add more train capacity, and it was struggling enough as it was. So I just ran belts over top of all the other transit. And there is I forgot one part up here that is worth looking at. Technically, you could look at any of the sinks, but only one of the sinks is a good sink. The other is just getting rid of trash. That's a little mean to concrete, but so there you can see the awesome points. That is not the right number, and actually I can make a pretty good guess at what rate the simulation is running based on that, and we're probably at about 75%. And I can tell that because after checking many times, what it's actually producing in game time, not real time. This is tracking real time.
Yeah.
What it's tracking producing in game time is 410 million awesome points. I haven't seen anyone else with that high of a number. It is possible to have a higher number. There are better solutions for the alternate recipes that you pick and how you use them that I believe get you up to 480 or 470 or 60, something like that. But I wanted to stick with the alternate recipes I had picked, that I had figured out myself, and so it's only 410. And I have verified the numbers of things going through, which you see in part over here. These numbers, they don't add up to 310. And I also did a thing where I manually took a stopwatch and had a conveyor set up, and it was moving items just so it was from a storage to a storage on a Mark 1 belt. And the belt, which could only possibly moving at 60, was moving actually at like 50 or 40 on mine. It'd probably be, or 30 on mine, whereas this is probably 45 or something. And it even looked at the support and stuff and finally figured it's just and watched some old things by the devs, that there are just multiple simulation rates, and surmised that whatever this uses for its time source, is one of those clocks that is or is a clock that isn't being slowed down. That's maybe it's pulling system time, I don't know, but wherever it's pulling its time, it's not delayed like the rest of the simulation. So this is, I'm quite confident this is producing 410 million awesome points a minute, and using every single resource on the map. And it's all coming into 3 different actually I want to get back up so I can get a higher view of this. It's coming into 3 different train stations. I had tried to have it on only one train station, but there was no way to fit enough train depots, or the stations and their unloading segments into a single one. I want to get up so I can point to them and see them all at the same time. Even as it is, each of the train stations is stacked 2 layers high. Even with 3, it would, you couldn't have done it on just 1 layer. So that is 1 train station. That is a 2nd train station. That is a 3rd. All with resources being moved in at that rate. I think it works out to... my memory's too bad. I want to say like 200 and something trains moving non-stop.
That's a lot of trains.
It is.
You know, it makes me... I don't know if you've ever seen... maybe some of the... There's a guy named Tomska on YouTube, and he has the I Like Trains kid. And he just goes, I like trains. And then in the background, a big train comes by and runs somebody over. Just boom.
Hey, just stand on one of those rails for half a second and you'll get it. It does not take long. It should be, if everything's working right, they should be about 15 seconds apart on every single line. Every single line should have a train go by every 15 seconds. They might actually be running at 10.
Happy Thanksgiving, Devin.
Which is just as tight as I could make it. This causeway is where this first train station pulls all its resources. The other ones I made sure that they had better access, so I didn't have to pull everything through one of these maintenance or service shafts, which is how I get resources to everything. But just this one, I think, is moving something like 75,000, 100,000 resources a minute. It'd have to be more like 100,000, now that I think about it. I know I had tried to add it up once, but it got a little tricky to keep track of where different things were coming from and going. Which is why, it took so long chasing down everything. Because, yeah, between the different segments, it's moving 1.2 million items every minute. Even your best belts only move 1,200.
Oh yeah, I want to point out, we had to up the...
the object limit.
Yeah, the object limit by like a lot for this to even run.
Yeah. I had looked back, actually. So after the point where the multiplayer failed was probably 75% of the way to the object limit in retrospect. And it was a 34 megabyte file. which for these worlds is extremely large. This is at 100 megabytes. Just to store the data is pretty rough on this. I was able to, because I looked around, this is one that surprised me. I had assumed they put a thing you can dump stuff into and it is measured and given a point value. I assumed that was just going to be a category. There would be a lot of people trying to get to have the biggest number there. It's a high score in a game, of course. This was obvious. I don't know if I'm just really bad at Google, Reddit, YouTube. I could hardly find anyone actually talking about like hard numbers on how large the factories were. There's some amazing, massive factories that generally are beautiful and made me feel inadequate and try and add stuff on so that it wasn't just a flat thing. It only halfway worked. I mean, I have little scaffolding like it's a tower.
You've got scaffolding and see-through walkways and...
Oh, and I like this one. This is... the elevator looked too small from a distance. It was so small! And you would point to it and say, and there's the elevator that takes everything up. And it's like, oh, that's so tiny. That's so tiny.
When the space elevator, the biggest thing you can build in the game, looks small.
So small that you put that around it, and then you zoom out, and it still looks kind of small. If I go to... There's a quicker way out. I'm going to scooch over to a teleporter.
There are teleporters?
Yes. That is... I don't know if those were in 0.8. They might have only been in 1.0. They probably were only in 1.0.
I played 0.8. I don't remember there being teleporters.
If they were in 0.8, it would have been right at the end. But I'm not sure that they were.
It's like I said, everyone. I have not played one. I stopped playing, and I blame Bryan.
I can't entirely deny that or refute that. We're gonna look at that elevator from a distance. Boop. This is also the teleporter platform. So from here in the middle, it still looks okay. Still looks decent sized. Let's see. What are my other options? I didn't label anything. None of these are labeled. And even I only halfway remember because I got distracted and memory's shot. No, that's the one I came through. Holy crap, you go through these teleporters so much faster than I was. But where was I? Yeah, I had to put something around that because you can imagine just how small it was out in the thing, and that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing of the game. Is that's the thing you build with the elevator. Halfway to spoilers there. Spoilers. I don't know. I didn't pay. Apparently, I'm the weird one. Every time I was trying to look up and see things, people seem to take that a lot more seriously than the. Oh, here's a good one. So there, it looks decent sized, but it doesn't look big.
No.
And that's in a structure that's like 3 or 5 times wider than the normal thing.
Yeah.
And even more than that taller. It's like, from here you can see, yep, I was really great about making everything beautiful. Really great.
Just railroads everywhere.
Railroads and belts.
Yeah, railroad belt, you can just see them as, it's like a giant spider web.
No, spider webs are more organized.
Yes, they are.
They're so much more organized than
Okay,
this.
then it's like a giant cobweb.
It's so much. It's so beautiful to see it all just keep flowing and flowing and flowing into the end point. I mean, any things like these warpers. I don't know. I'd have to double check on what the raw resources that go into that. I feel like it'd be probably like in the tens of thousands into each of those ballistic warp drives. And similar with the AI expansion servers, but those two are in a feedback loop. To make one, you have to make the other. To make one efficiently, you have to make the other. You use the waste of one to make the other. So those get connected. The expansion servers and the ballistic warp drives account for like 406 million of that 410 million awesome points. Where's this other bit? Those assembly directors and the cubes are 4 million. These are like 100,000. all
Not,
all
yeah, not
12 lines or whatever.
Not much on that one then.
Yeah. It's why I was gonna ignore them. They don't contribute to the amount you're really producing. It was just gonna lag things back, but it took it from using 93% of the map's resources, or 87. I'd have to check. To using 100%. And I verified that I have verified this multiple ways. I verified it in my own spreadsheet. With these, so that's a fourth way. I verified it with these counters, which seem quite accurate actually, in everything I've done, even as simulation rates and frame rates jump like crazy. Those seem to be really accurate. And then I used a calculator online to make sure that the production should be lining up. And then there's one that you actually can upload to, and it will say how much the different machines are asking for and how much they are producing. And that last one is particularly good because I can look at that and say it is within 0.1% of what it needs to be. I can verify not based on like a theoretical, but actually based on the buildings placed, and because I have every one of these dialed down to exactly what they are supposed to be consuming and producing. I threw a margin of error on a couple of them. It throws the numbers off a little bit, but it stays within 0.1%. So something like this, it's at 100%. It's making 2.593. It's probably actually 2.59375. So I kept the precision extremely high through all of that, and when I found that, I was really happy because it meant that I had a really accurate set of numbers to say this is taking in what the counters are saying it's taking in, what the theory says it's taking in, and what's off is the sinks and the way that they measure. That's a nitrogen problem. Nitrogen's awful. Okay, let's make that 20 nitrogen off. That's about what 20 nitrogen off.
I still think those big scary numbers you were saying, 20 is not
a lot out of I think it's 12,000.
That's like crying because you've lost like 2 flakes off your snow cone.
Yeah, 12,000 out of 12,000 nitrogen. I think I'm 20 off. And then we get to the big numbers, because I want to brag a little. Let's see. Between all the different production buildings, it is 30,858. not including, because I always removed them before doing any of the verification steps, any of my uploading to check numbers. And I'll tell you, the online calculator hated this thing. It crashed. I couldn't even open this in Chrome. I had to go to Firefox, and it would use like 12 gigabytes of RAM in Firefox. And then if I tried to do too much, it would just crash. But these parts, these are factories that build the factory, that give me resources to build with. Those aren't in any of these totals. I always removed them. So not counting these side buildings that I built around. 30,000 production buildings.
That's a lot of buildings.
Honestly, just to highlight some pain points, which I'm trying to read tiny little. 11,957 refineries. That is probably what takes up most of the space. Refineries are huge. And all the most efficient resources use water, and they use refineries.
I mean, 11,000 refineries, that's a third of the buildings.
12,000, really. Yeah, it is a third. It is most of the buildings are just refineries, or the plurality of buildings. And we can look here, the amount of power, and we can see that, things aren't stable after having moved it between computers. The power overcharger, I shouldn't have built the power overcharger. I didn't trust the numbers, and I wanted to have a better margin for error on power. So I waste quite a few resources getting, and worst of all, the shards. They're not power shards. My mind. There's power shards, and in 1.0 they added things that you could make that extra overcharge things, and what they overcharge is the production itself. These summer sloops, there we go. The summer sloops, it uses some of the summer sloops, and those are a critical limiting resource on efficient ballistic warp drive production, which is why part of the reason I'm at 410 million instead of 480. Also, I just didn't come up with as good a solution as the mathematically optimal one. The highest I've seen anyone talk about, though, is about 250, maybe 300. So this is, as far as I know, the highest Awesome Point producing, the highest building count, the highest, there isn't like a one that someone did that was a special event. It was using the Christmas buildings. That, I think that could have had more buildings, and they made 10 million gifts a minute and 128 gigabytes of RAM, and pushed Unreal to its absolute limits. This is a 1.2 million things produced a minute. It's not that far off, and it's a proper factory doing the whole proper production chain and producing the everything. And this is dropping down because something must have gone wrong. It should be stable with the boost, but unboosted, I seem to be. It sits at 137, or 1,137 megawatts, or gigawatts, sorry. And when it boosts, it hits 1.3 terawatts. So 1.1 terawatts without a boost, 1.3. And I mean, it's only using 900 of that, or 900 gigawatts of that. So there definitely was room to cut that closer. But in my planning, I wasn't confident enough to do that. So little wasteful, but I mean, people that only use 900 gigawatts on their factories in this game, what can you say about them? There, the underneath is just, it's what we started with. It is just lines and lines and lines of refineries and refineries and refineries. And here we get into part of why I think this is part of what pushes everyone. Once you get into this, I really had thought and tried, well, could you distribute things? Maybe it'll make things run better. Maybe you won't have to ship as far. I really had tried that. I run in my head that concept again and again. I think it just doesn't work when you're pushing this. And what I kept running into is, and where will you get the water? And where will you get the water? Because all the really high efficiency recipes use water to refine your iron and to refine your copper and your caterium and all that. It's the pure caterium ingots and stuff. It's, well, technically that one's probably better with sulfur, but anyways, but all of those are running, and to make your concrete is running a lot of water. And you could try to make those things by the water and then move them to somewhere, but they're almost all of your shipping and production, so that'd just be worse. You don't want to move those at all. And so to avoid moving that, you need to be where there is a lot of water. And a lot of water. Let's double checking. That is 1,898 water pumps. And I think I had this one added up separately. Did I? I know I have it added up separately on my spreadsheet that has, like 8 tabs for all the different things. It would probably be under, no, wait, total, I feel smart, would it be there?
You feel smart? I guess I'm glad that makes one of us.
Something like 230,000 water a minute. So where I mentioned that we're shipping in 330,000, 230,000 of all the resources per minute. So like 2/5 of all the resources going into this are coming locally in the form of just water. And it's just an unspeakable amount of water. It doesn't end. It goes through under the whole thing. I like this bit. I like this bit where you can see one of the layers and all the trains going under.
It is kind of neat with their lights on, and because you've blocked out the sun.
Yeah. It's really, and it'll be more obvious when we get good distant looks at it. And it's when I noticed when I made a cannon so that we can go up and see the whole thing at once. And also at another point when I was building a viewing platform way far out, I realized it had reached the size where it was a biome. It is, I'm pretty sure it's larger than, depending on how you want to draw the lines between places to say, areas of the map.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's larger than all but 2, maybe 3.
So, the desert and the big plains.
The desert and the Badlands. I think the Badlands are bigger than the grassy plains. I think this might be bigger than the grassy plains, but
So
that would be the one it's close to.
I was just naming the ones that I remembered that were fairly large.
Yeah, the desert's huge. The desert is huge. This this is a later edition, and it's amazing how you can see my skill and everything else just decline as as we get later into this project, and I'm doing this tireder and more. I didn't keep things clean in any of this. That wasn't. I was running a different goal. I love these walls. These are not intentional walls. These are little causeways that are 1, 2, 3, 4. Four walls also. Each of those I think is 8 meters or something. It's like 32 meters high and everything, and then 16 wide. These were not built to look like walls. This is just what it looks like when you have finally stacked so much stuff going through, so many different belts, all just moving stuff non-stop. Yeah, it's not just like the one over there or some here and there. Every single one of these is just packed straight through, moving tens and tens of thousands of resources every minute. For any who plays Factoria, that sounds like nothing. Yeah, I know. You can say what you want. I've played both. What is in one a lot is not a lot in the other, and vice versa. Or maybe not vice versa, but they're not. This is more impressive than a 10,000 or even a 50,000 science per minute base. This is something a lot fewer people have, a scale that has been achieved a lot less in this one, and not just impressive because of the scale. This was harder. the 3D, yeah.
I say it's in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I'm clipping everything through everything, but I don't know what it is. It shouldn't be harder than like a 10,000 science per minute base. Somehow it is. At least than a 10,000. 10,000 isn't too extraordinary. This... Oh no, this isn't the part I wanted. I kind of want to look at the coal distribution. The coal distribution gets routed pretty much... Almost all coal gets routed to just one section. And that means that its distribution layer is hilarious. It's this one. And I might mess with the video setting, just turn off. I didn't get lighting in because I didn't plan on that, and because it would have destroyed any form of performance on something like this. But this nonsense is moving. I actually can look what goes just through this bus. Okay, this is the central station. How much? Actually, no, let's look at the shipping page and then look at the central station. Subheading and coal. That is, I believe, 372,000 or something coal every minute.
I mean, holy crud.
It's hard to see. It all gets stacked on top of each other so that everything fits. And it's dark, so it's hard to see. But this one, these belts won't necessarily be moving. That's kind of by design. Each basically hits a splitter, and I know that at least one of the belts is being used, and then I wasn't sure how many I would need, so I just kind of compress it all down into the bottommost belts, and I used them left to right from there. So all of this is the overflow use. But this is another example of why there is 100 iron missing somewhere, and why I go like, how valuable is iron? How important is iron? But we're getting, what would it be? Out of the planned 92,100 iron, we're losing 100 of it. Isn't that sort of reasonable to expect? Because, like this, all of this compressing down into...
I would like to imagine that I don't think the developers would even think somebody would be...
No, it's obviously not intended. It's
to make something actually using everything.
No. Like, all the things...
to make it completely balanced.
Well, and, like, all the things, it always says anything, like, that talks about the object limit. They say, yeah, you could possibly hit it if you go really hard on the cosmetics. There's no cosmetics here. Technically a tiny bit, but I've only added... That actually only adds a couple, like 5,000 blocks out of like 200,000 concrete blocks. Like 5,000 of them are decorative. That's not adding anything to this. But I hit the object limit way, way back. I have to keep flying. Hover packs, they don't... They're just snail's pace.
Yeah, they are. They are a little slow.
You're missing the sarcasm. They're really fast. It's not the jetpacks. The jetpacks are slow. The hover packs aren't. It's big.
I thought it was the other way around.
No, I think it is. Well, up and down, the jetpacks are fast. But I don't think they move horizontally too well. They could, but... Maybe if you got a running start, it'd be a running start thing. And it's so many green lights. You only get those green lights when something is running at 100%. Every machine you see with a green light is running at 100%. It is getting exactly the resources it's expecting, and whatever's downstream of it is using exactly what it is producing, or there would be a backup and it would not be green. And I know because I went through a lot of that. Some of these are blue. That means they are overclocked. I couldn't, for the nuclear pasta, I just couldn't fit it in. It was already a huge chunk of the factory, so I flexed a little there.
Nuclear pasta?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very tasty.
But I hit the object limit just on that section. The stuff that is, once I get above this walkway, the stuff that is from like here down was object limit territory. And technically, you start to hit it before you have as many placed as the object limit. Each thing you place, it has to spawn in for its little animation a bunch of objects, so you start hitting it. But just that section was the object limit. All the rest of this is way past object limit. The game will crash unless you go in and modify a bunch of settings, which he sat through me doing earlier.
Yeah, we had to change it to 10 million.
Yeah. Actually, it's at 100 million. I don't know what it needs to be, but...
Okay, we set it to 100 million.
I know 5 million isn't enough. I did that once and it's like, no, not enough. But yeah, and they clearly placed like resources around, expecting that no one's actually going to use them all. Maybe they'll use all of one. Maybe they'll use all the quartz. But they're clearly not expecting you to use all of them, especially the limestone, or they would have put so much. So cuss word much. there was no way to use it all. It had to go just into concrete and its own stupid things that look ugly. Oh, we found ourselves in a fun place. What's on me? Okay. This is the express to viewing the whole thing.
Okay.
Also to hitting into the space elevator at the top.
Oh, there goes the frames.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Fix-it property will not function outside of
If you
fix-it
die,
property.
it's part
Return
of the process.
fix-it property to fix-it property immediately.
Hold on. Okay. So this is where I say it is a biome.
Yeah.
I think it's smaller than the Badlands. Though, oh, that's tight. That's the grassy plain. Oh wait, we may have to do this again. I have to turn the fog off. R.fog. No, -1 should have been it. Yeah, we'll have to go again on the Fun Times Express. It is good to keep the fog in.
Is this the rest of the planet?
Oh yeah. There's a death crate in there because I forgot to hit RMB and it couldn't be recovered. Why is that not working?
I don't know.
Okay, I need to get that to work because, as some may have noticed, that fog is just undoable. It's unbearable. The fuck? No, if I don't give it a space, it definitely won't work. The fog is good. It makes things look good. It hides things that once it's gone, you realize you were never meant to see. You never wanted to see because they just don't exist. But for this trick,
It says it's
I think it might be
R.fog 0.
Yeah, I think it might have been the -1 throwing it off. I thought you could do -1. So we're gonna go that again.
Alright, go through the frame destroying tube again.
The tube that launches you to your death in the blink of an eye.
Frames aren't the only thing this tube kills.
Oh no!
You got stuck!
Stupid death crate. Getting caught on bodies of former me's. Ugh, okay. So
Fix-it property is not allowed to leave
I think
fix-it
this is probably the
designated
best
work
way to get
areas.
scale.
Function outside this area is not
or-
supported.
Not a scale, but to get an idea of how big this is in terms of the map. Yeah, biome. Like, I think it's bigger than Air Force. The Green Hills are just like that. It's actually quite small.
Here comes more fog.
Other fog that apparently I bet it's a
I think
cloud.
you're going through clouds.
Clouds. Why do clouds have to get in my way? It says ultra graphics. Yeah, it's definitely clouds. Yeah. Biome. It's a biome.
Yeah. You got the desert, the Badlands, the forest, the factory biome.
The slab of concrete.
Everybody knows the factory biome is
Yeah.
one of nature's.
So, and I mean, admittedly, like the desert's huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be, yeah, I used up most of the desert to be my factory. Or you'll have a factory, but you'll say it's in this biome. This isn't exactly in a biome. It's just, I never did show. There, from space you can see pretty well though. That is a line of nuclear reactors that we should go visit because it's a line of nuclear reactors. I mean, well, what's not to love about that? We'll visit it through a teleporter. I think I know which teleporter goes in that direction. Boop. Okay, it'll let me move. Another good angle. The viewing platforms were built to get out to good angles.
Yeah.
I think on this one it's a little easier to see the height from this side.
It is. You can definitely see the layers.
And keep a sense of the height. But that ribbon of resources is the nuclear resources. They don't come in through train. That wasn't laziness. That was planned. The power plant that produces the electricity to move the resources needed to have more reliable power. And then here you can see the double line of nuclear reactors going out. You can't see all of their power or all of their water sources. Those are still spawning in. There's a lot of them. A huge amount of water. Actually, in the 200,000 I mentioned, I'm not sure it included the water that goes into these nuclear reactors. In fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't. So I think there might actually be more water produced than there is than all the other resources combined. And if not, it's worryingly close in all of this. And this is nuclear. This is the part where in the that's gonna kill us way too fast because I didn't grab filters after we died. Filter. Much better. This is the part where with the multiplayer we would get on, and even the person on the same network, and I don't think quite computer, I think he might have been on a second computer, but he couldn't connect. He would disconnect when he came over here after a little while. Before we added any of the rest. This was the point where it was breaking down just with this. We fly in the uranium. They're fueled by the nuclear or the plutonium waste, plutonium fuel rods that have been made out of the waste of the power generation. And each of these, where most things I avoided overclocking, these are all overclocked fully, or not quite fully, 200% because of weird.
So 2/3.
Yeah. Yep, 200%. Each of these is 500 or 5 gigawatts. And it just goes and goes and goes and goes.
I think on my own I've only ever managed to make one nuclear reactor. I guess that's not entirely true because I've made 2 different kinds of nuclear reactor because they changed it when they added water.
Yeah.
So I've made a really old one, and I've made one with the water.
Yeah. And and I don't think that we reprocessed fuel, or you did.
I don't think I had gotten that far.
Yeah. Reprocessing the fuel is.
In the original, there was nothing you could do except trying to shove it into a corner.
Shove it into that hole.
Yeah.
In the middle of the bottom of the waterfall.
The bottomless hole. Just shove it down as far as we can get it.
And you can kind of see as we go through these that this is placed by blueprint. This is placed in chunks that are, I think it's 6 foundations by 6 foundations and up. The Mark III blueprints. And there are no mods in any of this. This is all just vanilla. Which does help, but it's still, I believe, like 2,500 of these blueprints, and then you have to get everything to them and, make them actually work, because 2,300 I'd estimate of these, and each of them is moderately dense. They're not the most packed thing in, and I had mentioned this before. Everything that's going into this, you'll notice it's almost always just ore. There's not fancy stuff. If you look at the right places, there is some fancy stuff does get moved around, but it's almost always just ore. And then, a couple things that just would never fit into a single blueprint. And that was very intentional to... you look at these are, like, here it starts to thin out because it's near an end point, but these lines are just so packed, just trying to get the ores out, that if you started trying to do complicated stuff, make all the... you'd have to be crazy to make all the wire in one place and ship it to where it needs to be, but, if you tried to make all the ingots in one place and then ship it, I don't think it'd keep up. You would have to be moving so much iron. You'd have to be balancing it. You'd be having to go through so many splitters and mergers. You see it in the train station. Just how many mergers and stuff it takes to try and balance, 30,000 coal.
Yeah.
Well, after you've run your iron ore through... there's a 50% chance one of these is going to be what I'm looking for. After you've run your iron ore through this process, you've almost doubled it. And there's 90,000 iron ore. So if you wanted to move iron ingots from a single production point out to each place where it's going to be used, you would need something, and because it goes by the square, that would be more like 36 squared, 36 times bigger. It would need 36 times more mergers and splitters.
Oh.
There was you could try to be more intelligent. I built that in a way that it would work no matter which thing I hooked up to which, so it would just balance across. If you knew what each was going to need, you could try to balance more sensibly, use less, but it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy, and that would definitely put too much load.
When I design things, my intelligent design does not exist.
Yeah, here's an example of it's not making its own heavy modular frames. What are you not getting? There's always another thing like this, and it's always something stupid. And then I look at it and it works again, and I don't get it fixed. But that's supposed to be computers. That is obviously missing. So yeah, you can see I'm moving a couple things in, but they're all pretty high up the chain.
Yeah.
And mostly just moving ore, which makes it easier to overflow to the next part, and you only feed in at the front of each line, and then it splits off, and so you just have to calculate enough for each line. There's a lot of simplification going in to make it possible to hit this scale, and that's, as someone mentioned earlier, it looks a bit like a silicon chip, because they kind of do the same thing. to make the designing work, there has to be certain kinds of simplifications and setups that have general solutions and such. So the logic is, I doubt it's much different. Or actually, it probably is quite different, but elements should be shared. And all of this. And I look and it's blown up on me. I'm blaming the engine.
Could be.
It actually could. It could also be trains. I don't trust the trains either.
Well, I don't know. Have you ever seen Thomas the Tank Engine? I wouldn't trust any of those trains.
This is a bit I love. These guys just keep spawning here. I'm giving us the better lights. We're going mood. I have to hit apply, not just exit. I love how small they look. I mean, those are something you play with at the beginning, and they are so big.
Yeah, you're standing at the bottom of them and they're so big.
And then in this one context, they just aren't. Oh, I have to get all the way down to the ground. I'm trying to get in frame. Second, this thing annoying me on the map. Hello map, hello trains. Are you still moving? I don't trust you. Hello drones. Oh, that's all the stations. I didn't talk about that, but it's more than a few stations. Take down radar, take down drones. Death crates. I don't want to see those things on. Oh wait, no, I don't want to see them on the compass. I was fine with them on the map. Okay, that's better. Compass. Compass. Okay, players. No, okay. Okay, that's cleaner. But yeah, it feels so small next to that. It's
Yep, you don't even reach the first floor.
no. I mean, the buildings in this are big. Like any of the buildings, the constructors, the particle colliders, those things you start with. They're big. I think in part because they want things to feel big, and they're never gonna have they don't have the raw counts that say Factorio can have, because it's just 2D and stuff.
By the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't nuclear pasta the stuff neutron stars are made out of?
Yeah. Most of the stuff, well, like the ballistic warp drives, I'm pretty sure are supposed to have a black hole in them.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they're expensive. And, I mean, they're really expensive to make. I mean, all of this, it's what you see at the end. All of this is condensed into, 300,000, 500,000, whatever items a minute, if you include the water, gets condensed down into, like, 120 and 95. Because that's pretty much where all the resources go, is just into those two. Each has to have tens of thousands of items going into it. I know they have nuclear pasta as part of it. The supercomputers get pulled in as part of it. Thermal propulsion rockets. I mean, it's the thing, and I really should check this. What exactly it takes in the final stage? Because I know it's surprisingly little. They don't ask for much in the final stage. Sorry. Stage. It's like stage 9 or something. Tier 9. Oh, that's just the elevator stages. That's helpful. Elevator. I don't know. This does. I was not paying attention to like the elevator stuff and goals. They were. This is what I wanted. It was.
Once again, like I said, I did that when we played. I did that crap.
Yeah. This is the old wiki, the bad wiki. Apparently, we don't like fandom.
Okay.
I won't say I fully understand all the ways that they're evil, but something not being nice to the people that make their wikis and provide the information, profiting off it all, but then being absolute jerks, something. I mostly just know that because I look up wiki stuff so much that
I don't. I'm one of those people that decide to get frustrated at the game way too long.
yeah. So on the last stage, it only asks for 200 ballistic warp drives, 256 AI expansion servers, 1,000 biochemical sculptors, and 1,000 nuclear pasta.
I've never made a single one of those things, so
And David's brother spent 2 days making those.
like continuously 2 days.
I told you, they got tired of it, and at some point his brother just started grabbing like the next to last stuff and putting it into bins and feeding it through a bunch of manufacturers, and it took the 2 days to process out 200 ballistic warp drives. That was slooped, overclocked. It might have only been one manufacturer, but it was running all of his factories and everything just to do that. I should look at it and show what it takes. It does take a pretty solid chunk just to make one. And the issue is not so much just, the one manufacturer, it's making the stuff that goes into it. The whole production chain. Let's divert. That is the thing that isn't working all the time, that I'm mad at. The power augmenter.
Once again, I have no idea what it is, so
It produces 500 megawatts of power, and if you feed it an alien power matrix every 5 minutes, it will multiply all the power generated by 30%, 1.3. So, but to build it uses sloops, which you could instead. Boop-a-doop-doo. Oh, so many beautiful assemblers. I was never mad at the motor production line. It behaved well through the whole thing. It'd be the one that I knew everyone else was misbehaving because it was backed up. It's like, oh, motors aren't all being used. Someone's not doing things right. My little AI expansion server place. That's magnetic fields. neural quantum processor, superposition oscillator. It all gets very sci-fi in the last stage.
I can see that. There are definitely buildings I have never seen before.
The last stage should be all buildings you've never seen. So yeah, like time crystals, supercomputers, fixed-site trigons. Time crystals are one of the few that I use multiple recipes for. I tried to not do that. Another reason why it's not quite 480 million. By avoiding doing that, I was hoping to keep the whole thing simpler and achievable. Which I kind of defend because, I mean, yeah, I kind of got pretty bad. I didn't actually look up how liquids worked until very late into the thing. Kept trying to do it myself. I went quite a while before I finally just went, okay, other people are going to be smarter than me on this. That probably used 200 hours, but it's also just way harder than you would think to. If you were to ask, can you get enough to keep one line running at 100%? Easy, 5 seconds, no problem. If you were to ask, can you distribute this set of resources across so that it's all used? Easy, no problem, 5 seconds. If you want to do both at the same time, fully use everything coming in and keep this running at 100% exactly, you have to get everything exactly where it's supposed to be, exactly when it's supposed to be there. It's because either one can be solved by, on one side you could have the miners not run at full speed. Easy solution. Just have one that's giving you a little margin of error wherever you need it. And on the other side you could just have extra machines. But when you need both to run at 100%, boy. And here, yeah, thermal propulsion rocket, singularity cell, superposition oscillator, dark matter crystal. And the dark matter crystal is made with dark matter residue from these bulbs. And that comes from these. That is produced in is a byproduct from this, and if that ever backs up, it stops making and it binds. It's a bit like the nitrogen water loop, but I actually had way less trouble with that than the various nitrogen water loops around the base. Those caused more problems, but it's all pipes that are interconnected, and if if the production in, not even just these, so you can see, like with the dark matter residue, that if one of these wasn't producing, there wouldn't be enough, and if one of those was, then there wouldn't be enough for these things over here, and if any of these weren't consuming because they weren't getting some other resource, then those would jam. That's a pretty obvious feedback loop. These are fed into by every resource in the factory.
Oh.
They are using, all of this. The amount that doesn't feed into these two sections, here and here, is in the distance the nuclear section, and I'm trying to fly over. Oh wait, okay, people can't see where I point. I need to do that better.
Yep.
These and these two lines. This section, these two lines, and in the distance, the nuclear plant. Everything else ends up here. That's why I say like 9, or might have been as low as like 83% of the resources go through there, and 98% of all the awesome points come from there. It is what matters. Everything else was just me wanting to be able to say that I used everything, that I hadn't left anything, and it is kind of joyful to run out on the map a bit and just look at extractor after extractor, check them, 100%, 100%, 100%, everything just...
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do when they eventually change the values of the mines again?
See, this is why I waited till 1.0. Now, it is possible they could do a 2.0, a big change. But the odds of a big change are much smaller now. Which is another one. It's like same with the having a finite world. In a lot of these games, they're always updating, and and the worlds are infinite, so you can never there's no reason you would ever plan to something like that in Factorio. You're never going to plan to having exact production in and out. Your resources coming in is always changing. You deplete the mine or ore patches. You find some reason you need more, and if you ever need more, you just expand and expand until your computer, the UPS drops to 15 and you give up. Those kind of things. It's good. It is good. It's just, if you want to sit down and, kind of gnaw a bone, as it were, and just keep working on something, you're not going to in that, because if you have the crazy I have, you just go until the computer dies. and that was kind of a whole story here where, let's say November-ish last year, I figured the game had the computers had broken, the engine had broken, and I had broken. We'd all lost, which was a predictable endpoint. I expected that to happen. That's what usually happens. You play a game, you push it, eventually you hit the point where you can't take going any longer, the computer can't take it going longer, the engine can't take going longer. Could be all three, could be two of the three. Things fail. The games allow you to scale up infinitely, and they still haven't figured, they're still building these finite computers, honestly, in a lot of cases, it wouldn't matter if the computer was some advanced thing from 2 billion years in the future. You'd still push it until it broke, because that's kind of the concept. You're pushing to as big as you can go, and eventually things just can't keep up. And that's what I had figured happened. The networking, man, 10 megabytes a second for a game that it was using.
Yeah.
Not megabits. I'm not saying bits here. Megabytes. And I think we were over that, actually. That's going past, like, streaming Netflix. That's like getting into your maybe 4K streaming. Well, maybe not 4K streaming. But that's... Or was it 10 megabits? Oh, my word, I can't remember.
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. But I know it was getting into the we had surpassed, like, Netflix streaming bandwidth here. And games are usually in the kilobytes.
Yeah,
kilobits. They are usually really low on bandwidth. Latency, extremely important. Bandwidth, no, it gotten crazy. And even outside of that, while in the multiplayer, the frame rate was at like 20 for me. When I went into single player, it was better, but I was like, I had only done the nuclear. we had the rest of the factory to add in. It was going to be like 10 times more things at least. And it's like, this just isn't going to make it. The concept has failed. I'll have to think of a way that'll be lighter on the computer that will work a different way. Maybe overclock everything. All of that. So, like, the engine isn't working. The computer's not running it well enough. I gave up. And then, I don't know, my nephew was visiting over, and he wanted to see things that I've done that are interesting. I'm like, oh, this was pretty cool. I mean, I could never finish it. The performance wasn't there, but he was excited, and I was like, I'll give it another try.
Happy Thanksgiving, Phantom. Of course we got something yummy to eat. I made it.
Yep. Fancy foods. But yeah, gave it so I thought, give it a try. Actually try to finish building it out. I mean, it's mostly placing blueprints, and I really went, well, if I can place all the blueprints, get everything placed, and it doesn't just run out of RAM and die. I mean, it was a 12 gigabytes of RAM. I quadrupled the file size or tripled the file size, and probably 10 times as much buildings placed, and it only like doubled the RAM. So I had reason to think it was never going to work. But I tried it, and it did. It just barely, in the end, just barely all three of those things managed. I was just barely able to get myself moving enough to do it. The computer, boy, you can feel it through this whole thing. It is just barely managing this. It is. It's. I don't know. I was somehow managing to tolerate it even in the dips to 6 FPS and such. So I'm probably not the person to judge, but this feels like it's managing it to me real well. But probably to everyone else, not so well.
I'm gonna say to me, it hurts my eyeballs, Brian. This reminds me of when I used to play on my really old computer.
Unreal. Because, I mean, this is a good-looking game, normally.
Yeah.
But I think Unreal, it's getting 12 FPS out, but I think that in the background it's doing it's playing pretty fast and loose. I think it's really noticeable, like when turning, that things kind of flicker in and out. I have a feeling that some of the effects that are supposed to be there aren't there. Some of the stuff that's supposed to be there isn't there. It's just decided, no, we can't do that. We need this to just run. Yeah, it's like an objects in the distance flickering in and out. I don't think it would be flickering in and out this much on these settings with your computer in a new world. In a clean world.
Probably not.
I think it's just desperately trying to cope. But this just, to me, this just feels like victory for all three. Pushing to that point where it is all just collapsing on you. It is all failing. The computer is on the verge of failing.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The 12 FPS. The engine is on the verge of just collapse. And I was just barely able to keep going through all of it. The hundreds of hours. I feel like it was like around hour 900 that I stopped expanding the factory itself and had it mostly hooked. Then like 900 to 1100 was fixing all the places where I didn't have it hooked right. And then 1100 to 1500 was just figuring out the little bits.
Yeah, tweaking.
Chasing down the hardest Actually, rebuilding nitrogen about 6 times.
Oh.
The whole nitrogen distribution across the entire... Because that has to be distributed across the entire factory, because there are bits that need it everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Crude was almost as bad. It was a little more well-behaved. Dark matter residue was remarkably good. I don't know why that one worked. Maybe just it had fewer things it was coming from and going to.
I would have no idea. I've never worked with this stuff.
Yeah. It's functionally, it should be the same problem as nitrogen. It's just a gas through a pipe.
Gotcha.
Which means you can't use like gravity to try and make sure things work right and stuff like that. Yeah, it was just that bit where everything is just barely made it. That's the best victory. The surest sign that of accomplish. Well, as much accomplishment as you can. Video game. I don't know. People have opinions. It is so obvious that the game just can barely do it. I'm gonna check. So through all this, where is it? And they have, that's actually a pretty solid drop from what it has been. They did do a patch that's supposed to help with RAM usage a lot. So right now it's only at 14 gigabytes. It's mostly been at 20. After I run it for a while, 16. So a couple gigabytes off.
Say, we left it running, so it's been going for a couple hours now.
Yeah. And 60%, 70% CPU usage.
Yeah.
Off of 12 cores.
Yes, I've got a nice 12-core processor.
Yeah. 7th gen Ryzen. Ryzen 7000, I should say. Yeah. Good CPU. But there's only so much you can do. And out in the world, I have all the belts going into the factory or into the train stations to be shipped. You can tell us later in the project. Or they're just not organized. They just are through anything in the general direction until they hook up and go in.
I can't tell you. How many train wrecks did you have getting this ride?
Train wrecks?
Because isn't that a thing that I've never had?
Yeah. No.
I've never had a train wreck because I've never had more than one train on one line.
No, there were quite a few train wrecks. Especially around like the finagly bits where everything has to merge. Before I got the lights set up right. You know, the bits where you're having 8 different train, or 6, I guess, 7 train lines all merge into one point. Yeah, that did have quite a few. And also quite a few train jams. In fact, when there was a train wreck, there would be a train jam. And you would have trains backed up. I mean, it looks like they're backed up now, if I'm honest. They're so packed in there. But you would have them just backed up through the whole, or through the whole thing.
A train jam. Does that taste good on toast?
You know, it didn't. It tasted like panic, and this is going to take 3 hours afterwards before I'll be able to know whether the routing in the factory is wrong somewhere or if it's just because of the train jam. You know, when you're chasing down, trying to figure out, okay, now why isn't there iron going into this part of the turbo motors? Actually, nitrogen going into this part of the turbo motors, which is apparently still a problem. and then you hear I missed. You run out, you get it moving again, and you come back, and it's like, okay, now is the iron not here because of the problems or because of the train jam? And yeah, that wasn't. And actually, I say that the nuclear power plant doesn't run on trains. It does a little bit. So if they were down for too long, there were points where I was using enough power, and the nuclear plant, the amount that it would lose, because I think it's mostly just nitrogen that I ship in, because of nitrogen shipment. And then it's like, oh no, can't have the nuclear plant go down again. That one's a nightmare when it goes down. And those trains, they just never stop. They can't stop. I mean, a single train moves a lot of stuff.
It has 200 coal in it.
Yeah. I could never.
Oh, would panic jam taste bitter or sour? I think it would taste sour at first and then bitter. So I would say both.
Places like this had train crashes.
I can imagine. You've got yourself a veritable spaghetti of...
And the first few times I placed things, I didn't space them quite right. Things kept ending up being a little too close to each other. Up and down and things, and they'd hit each other. Yeah, there were some train accidents. I do love these intersections. They're not over yet. Not the prettiest, but just like conceptually and the way that it weaves. I have seen 4 trains go through this at once without stopping.
Playing for 6 hours, Fix-It does not cover exhaustion.
I got those warnings so much.
Never seen it before.
You haven't?
No. Oh. I'm sure I might, unless if they added it in 1.0.
I think you're faking this. You've never played Satisfactory. If you haven't seen the 12-hour warning, I don't think they have a 24-hour warning.
If they added it in 1.0, I've never seen it.
I think it was in 0.8 or 8.
Because I don't remember seeing it when I played 0.8.
I think it was more like 0.8 or 0.7 or something. See, that's the thing. It just means you never did do it long enough.
Because I know I let it run in the background during the night sometimes so we could get...
Oh, but then you wouldn't see the warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's the coward's way out. That is... I think I said that at the time, not in those words, but in some words, that no, you don't run it overnight. You just build more factory. That's the solution here. Oh my word, David did the same thing. He had this same mentality of run it overnight. It's enough production. Why are you doing this?
I'm pretty sure David and I aren't the only ones.
He was so sure. I kept warning. I kept talking about things like, I want to do it this way because I'm hoping it will like keep reduce the amount of computation and the load. No, you keep playing after the program tells you to go to sleep. Oh, my word. You ignore the 12-hour warning.
Now there is a game I play on the Switch called Metopia.
Yeah.
And it says, "Are you done playing now? Do you want to go? Do you want to have a rest?" Like every 30 minutes.
Oh, that's annoying.
No, I'm playing the game.
No, this gives you one at like 2 hours, 4 hours, maybe 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, and maybe at 16 or 24. I don't remember specifically on those. I'd have to check. But yeah, David, he was like, oh, why are you worrying about this? I have a really great computer. It's got 16 core this, all this RAM. I've got this great internet connection. 'Cause, he's a computer guy and has done, has run an internet company and stuff. And it's like, all this. And I'm like, okay, man, you're saying this. I think you're overestimating things. I'm going to keep worrying about this. And we get to the end, and he's like, by the end, he's like, holy crap, guys, we might have to wrap this up. This is really heavy on my computer. This is using like 20 gigabytes or 12 or whatever gigabytes of RAM. It's probably only 12 at that point. 13 gigabytes of RAM. It is using 60% of my processor all day, all night for weeks. No, eventually we gotta wrap this up. And he's sitting in these places, and he's like, holy crap, this is barely running. What is going on? And he'd been, it's just so well programmed. They've done so much. I have such a good computer. I'd never have to worry about any of this. Why are you worrying about this? And I'm like, I think you're just, I believe you on all of those fronts. I believe you on every one of those fronts. I think you're not seeing the me in this picture.
Now, I want to share a quick story of how I often play games with Bryan. Now, he's the one that I typically... He's my gaming friend. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of the times, I'll find a game. Sometimes it's a game that I'll think is fun. Sometimes it's a game that I'll think that he'll think is fun, or that we'll both enjoy. Most of them are that I think we'll both enjoy. There have been a lot of games that I've gotten that I'm like, ooh, this looks like fun, and I bet we'll both enjoy it, have some fun. We start playing, and then he gets into spreadsheets, and then it's not fun to me anymore. I'm like, okay, look for another game.
Well, and yeah, this is probably a great example of this, in that, so like, you kind of like games like this. Yeah. You do. It's not that you don't like this kind of game.
Yeah.
And it's only partly that I make them I think it's only partly that, I'm like, it's just not fun to play with you. I think part of it is where I push it to.
Gonna say, I love playing with you during the fun part, especially like when we're still learning
but I want to keep
out,
going.
And then he just like spreadsheet.
And I think David even more likes this kind of game. Like I said, he kind of ran an small internet-ish company, distribution company. This is the kind of problems that he loves. He loves these setting things up and connecting things, and so does his brother, and so does another friend of ours, Steve.
See, Steven and you, well, I don't say you build differently to each other, but you build in a similar, more organized way. Mm-hmm. David and I build similarly together, where the organization just doesn't exist.
Well, but the door... We are looking at all of my stuff and we're calling it organized. I love this. It's true, it is. It had to be. You'd never get to this size.
If I were to build a factory like this, it wouldn't be this size. It would be the size of the whole frickin' map.
Well, you would never be able to do it.
There'd be no layers.
Well, but see, that's the thing. You'd never be able to do it because it'd get so complicated. You'd never be able to track down that you were missing 100 iron.
True.
And you have to be able to. Well, but it's not just the organized. Like, you and David go for the unorganized, and me and Steve go for the organized. But there's a second axis here. And it's the keep going nonsense.
Yeah, I guess.
And by the time we'd done, like, the nuclear stuff, I could see David was like, oh, I'm fine, I played various games with you, but I think here I am seeing the problem. I am seeing the gap. I like these games. I love these games. I love this kind of thing, but this is not the same. Because it's... I mentioned 30,000 production buildings, and let me double check this, because this, I mean, it is a little hard in games because the numbers are kind of just numbers. Cookie Clicker is a great example. I got a quintillion monies. Okay, is that meaningful?
I got over a decillion cookies.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's Cookie Clicker. Of course you did. That's not a big deal in Cookie Clicker. But well, and it's like Factorio. Factorio, you can scale out in the number of assemblers really easily, and everything keeps running. And I could probably make arguments there one way or another. Both can be very complicated and hard, but to just say, oh, you have less buildings, yeah, that doesn't mean it was a less complicated build. Anyways, but there's, let's get the total. There's 2,700 kilometers of belts in this. The map is 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers, I believe.
Wait, how many again?
2,731 kilometers. You seeing how far across the U.S. that gets you?
All right.
Oh wait. Chaotic organization equals 4 train carts on 1 rail. Oh, well then we're chaotic, because there's more like probably 20 or 30 cars on each rail line on this. Which is, why that exists. That silly junction. You have to be able to have a lot of things going to a lot of places without hitting each other.
All right, that is 1,697. It's 96.965. So
how far across the U.S. does that get you?
All right, I was gonna find. All right, so if.
And 171 kilometers of rail. I think that'd get you to Salt Lake.
I don't know. But yeah, that's for us, weirdo Americans. That is 1,697 miles of conveyor.
Yeah, conveyor belt.
So 1,697.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at something like 80 or 90% of what is theoretically possible in the game in terms of awesome points, and 100% of the resources. I believe it's like 480.
All right, to put that in perspective, that from coast to coast, the United States is 2,800 miles.
So most of the way.
So if you started in LA and headed 1,600 and I think it was 37 miles. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to tell that in the map. I don't know if Google would understand. So,
what is the next length? So the map, I believe, is 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers, and I'm pretty sure that this factory is 5 kilometers long.
1,697.
I had tried to compare and get numbers, because I knew, it's the kind of thing people want to know. Is this the biggest anyone's built or anything like that? And it's hard to tell. Maybe just me being bad at Google. Maybe, I don't know. I think almost everyone who builds big builds showpieces almost. It's it seems to be a very heavy focus on, at least on everything I could find, of builds that really do look way better than this. I'm not gonna pretend. I mean, this looks fine, even good in some places, but there are some that are just like aesthetically they're crazy. But every time I've looked at it, and as close as I can just like guesstimate from from stills and looking at the different parts, they're things that would fit 4 times over or 5 times over in this factory. You could fit 5 of them in this kind of a thing.
In San Diego.
I did see one where they were trying a similar concept of try to use all the map's resources, and they had posted some more specific numbers. It was in an older update, so a little more limited in some ways. They had, I believe, 11,000 buildings. That was the most I could find on that scale. The most I've seen anyone mention was maybe 200, maybe 300,000. People aren't quite so firm on like the awesome points that the sinks are getting. It's just
nope, not quite from LA to Ohio, but you get pretty close. I bet you'd make it to Indiana.
Yeah.
So if you started in San Diego and started driving, you could make it into Illinois definitely, and probably make it into Indiana if you were headed towards Ohio.
Yeah. It's of like these buildings, these constructors and assemblers and manufacturers, they call these different production buildings and refineries. There's 30,000 of them. And it isn't one like in Factorio where you can easily scale out and copy. There's some stuff that you can place as a group, but you really have to do a lot of connecting and managing that you wouldn't.
Okay, this is pretty close at 2,054 miles. Pretty close. From the USS Midway Museum, that's on the coast in San Diego, to Indianapolis is 2,054 miles.
Yeah. And wait, no. Why am I? I'm acting like I'm on my computer and I'm trying to Alt Tab to Excel.
Let's see.
Yeah, I would say we're at about 85% of the awesome points you can hit. 100% of the resources you can use.
Let's see. What's the max length one can build in a single map?
Yeah, in a straight line it'd be 8 kilometers. I wonder if there's any mods to expand the cap. Yeah, so yeah, adding mods in for this kind of thing, I think it'd be counterproductive. It's a thing that happens in Factoria, or you run into problems that you run into like Factoria and stuff. When there's no limit, then there's no way. Then optimizing to a given limit doesn't make sense. Sometimes having the limit actually is what makes the optimizing fun and hard. Like in this case, I mean, these green lights, they make me happy, and they probably aren't ridiculous to someone who hasn't played this game a lot. But if you had looking out and seeing that much green would be throwing some bells out here. Because it only happens when something is running exactly at 100%. If the things on the other side aren't using fast enough, then it will back up, not green. If it's not getting its stuff in this case like iron ingots, fast enough, then it won't. So for each stage of a chain to all run at 100%, they have to be precise down to the tenths or hundredths decimal place. It has to run, and it has to be thought out and planned out to be that exact and balanced. And you would never do that if there's going to be just more resources to throw in and stuff, then taking the time to do that doesn't make sense. Like, getting it optimized and efficiency to down to the hundredth decimal place makes no sense. And it's kind of the same with a lot of things where you would have a high score. If it's like, oh, you could modify the game so that the scores can go higher. Well, the challenge is how high can you go within these bounds?
Yeah.
And if when you make things infinite, it does make the games fun. They are fun, but this specific type of build doesn't work, where you're trying to find the limit, because there is no limit in infinity. Like mods for reskins are changing the environment. Yeah, I don't know, like map changes. That could be fun. It would be a lot of work for the mod maker.
Probably.
Because this is... They did a lot of custom manual... I call it this. This isn't generated terrain. This is some... They had a couple artists on their thing. Graphical artists that just went in and made models for each little rock and got everything placed just right and stuff. It would be a lot.
I know that Subnautica at one point had a tool that let you build terrain or remove terrain, and they had long removed that from the game. Can't do that no more.
They decided against it.
Mm-hmm. It was just a little device, and I think you could just use it as much as you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And just tunnel a hole to the bottom, or build an island as tall as the skybox.
I think some people have wondered, whether they'll ever do a DLC or an update where they had map bits and stuff. Honestly, I think the stats are that only like 0.5% of people ever make it to the final part of the elevator. Yeah. Factoria to StarCraft raid.
I think that'd be pretty neat.
That would be. Now, Factorio has a lot of reskin mods. It does. And they are... I have done a lot more... I'm actually surprised I haven't done mods in Satisfactory. Most games... I run into just one thing that annoys me a little, and then I go, is there a mod for this? To my detriment at times. Sometimes it doesn't actually... Sometimes there's like a solid game design reason why that shouldn't have been done. And it's like, no, I'm ignoring it. Because I can. And it annoyed me once. I have been surprisingly unannoyed through Satisfactory, especially the newer updates.
These are from the same people that made Goat Simulator.
Yeah. And man, they nailed this one.
I think they made Deep Rock Galactic, didn't they?
Yeah.
Coffee Stain Studios?
I think they did. Or they're under a group that made that.
Yeah.
I never am sure exactly how things break out and
I don't know.
Stuff like that, but I know I'd seen somewhere people that talked about Coffee Stain Studios has talked about how low the percentage of people that have made it even into the mid game is. And it's not like their playtime is low. It's just and like this one, some games it's not even something annoys you. Sometimes it's you get to the end, it's like, oh, I want more. This wasn't much of a challenge. This was a challenge.
Yeah.
This was a solid challenge through everything. Or you feel like, oh, what if I went bigger and bigger? No, this actually feels big. I don't know. It is pretty solid. Any other than just having something to play again someday, probably not soon because it consumes too much of me. A different map would be interesting, but I don't know if that's actually out there.
Mr. Krabs is mud crabs. Okay, that's pretty funny. I have modded Skyrim quite a bit. I got a pack that I think was over 1,000 mods.
Oh, yeah, only 7% of people have made it to phase 4 out of 9. Yeah, I mean, I probably didn't say that loud. I think from what this is saying, I think there's 9 stages or 8 stages, and it seems the stat is only 7% have made it to stage 4. So yeah, if they adding more in Beyond, it would be adding something for an admittedly very small amount of people.
What they need to add is a spaceship that will send you to another planet, and then
maybe a DLC. Wait, how much can I spoil at the moment?
I have no idea.
I don't know. People seem to care. I don't understand it. We already know my whole thing.
I don't know. I've never seen the story, but odds are I'm probably not going to play it till it's complete.
It's not too huge. So at the end, you send... It actually doesn't even tell you much about what happens. At the end, when you look up, the missing part, that was a spaceship that you send off, and it does a thing, it opens a wormhole, and vroom, or a warp hole, I don't know which. It could be whatever it is.
Going back to Earth.
So, like, send us to... Maybe that's a plan for a future thing.
It could be.
I don't know. Maybe it's a different area. Maybe they figure that people, only 7% are even making it halfway through the game, and that adding more to the end isn't the right strategy. But, they made something that, and this still just boggles my mind. This is still running. It's running in a reasonable way. Yeah. This is so far beyond what it was meant to be able to handle. This is a scale so far beyond. Object limit was hit just one little corner of the base over there was enough to push it past the object limit. Not for this game. That is not a satisfactory limit. That is for Unreal.
The Unreal Engine
is not supposed to be able to go past being able to run. And Unreal is a major engine that is very deep capabilities. It's not a toy or anything. It's serious, as serious as any engine. Just a corner of that was too much for Unreal. And then it goes on to all of it.
Yeah, it's just...
And it's not just so you see, it's layered.
It's layered.
It just keeps going down. It just keeps going down and down and down.
Down where the sun don't shine.
Yep.
Anymore.
No, yeah, not anymore. Not since I got done with it.
We're building factories. We don't need the sun.
Yeah. Into just... Okay, I've seen a lot of people who make really beautiful factories. Whose lights stay green when they're supposed to stay green, dang thing. Steel. But there is something to be said for the chaos of that view.
Yeah.
That just sells the idea of
It makes me think
industry gone too far.
Say it almost looks like dystopian future city.
Oh yeah, no. I was gonna say dystopian future factory, but they never show that. It's always the city.
If you like removed our hands floating there.
Wait. Oh, I know there's a button to do it. No, that's not the button to do it.
Well, either way, 'cause it almost looks like those would be skyscrapers in the background. You have... This is the channel where they fly the flying cars through.
Huh. Oh, come on. Actually, this is a good point. I can do this. Boop. Woo, we're the flying car.
Woo.
Woo. Ignored the jumpy frames.
It's just like the Fifth Element.
Oh, I love whenever I do this. So you turn around and you look at yourself in it, and you realize how small the player is. This is... Oh, I've done this before. I want to place... I need to get to a different part, because I can't place it just in the middle of a factory floor. There's not enough space anywhere. Let's go. Okay, if I place a vehicle... Oh, wait, no. Dang it, I need to remember... Nope, that wasn't the one I meant to dupe. There. That's the one I meant to dupe. So if we, through the magic of quantum storage, that is the best thing they added in 1.0. It's the best thing ever. I mean, just have little boxes that you can upload things into and have just a small supply of building materials wherever you are.
Does it have any fuel?
That's... Oh, I guess I could give it fuel, but... Oh, wait. R? I'm in the right mode. Where? Oh, never mind, it won't let me. I have to get out for this. Decouple. Hide UI. There. And you can see the player and a vehicle in, if I get into a better shot. What if I were to... just... Because even the vehicles are usually fairly big, but just in this one context. It's something I noticed with like the train stations. Anytime you place them in game normally, they're comically huge. They are like annoyingly huge. And if we were to go to the train yard, takes a look. Oh, this is one of the uploaders. Oh, somehow I have the UI out. Or gone. Okay. See, that's where we're getting crystal oscillators. That's not where we're getting crystal oscillators. That's the dang crystal oscillator overflow. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Something's off. Something's not using what it's supposed to. That's there to tell me that something's wrong. Anyways, I'm going to ignore that.
It could have been a problem with the...
Yeah, and intermittent problems, and I still don't trust the trains. I've been trying to chase it down. I'm pretty sure that even with stuff like that, that it's hitting over 95% of what I was trying to hit. And at some point I had to be just okay. because I mean, an example is these balancers. I'm pretty sure they don't quite work due to some ness with those belts. I don't know if it's a floating point rounding error or what. I think it goes away if you use a different tier of belt, but I needed the highest capacity because I needed to move so much. Anyways, what I want to get down to is a train floor with beautiful train spaghetti. You know, lesser Satisfactory players, they settle for having spaghetti belts all over. I have spaghetti train tracks.
I can't complain about that.
But so like these train stations normally in any other context, you put them next to your factory and they're just comically huge. They're a third the size of your factory. It just looks wrong. And I have 4 stacked with a space in between, and then another 4, and then stacked 2 high, and then stacked another level below that. But when you get out back on the platform, it just looks normal sized. It just looks, oh yeah, that's a reasonable size for a train station when you're way up there. It looks, you know, decent size, but still fairly small next to the rest of the factory. It's not like dwarfing it, but normally they're dwarfing it because they're just comically huge. It's the same thing that you know, with like this space elevator that is normally just comically huge. I mean, even beyond the other, and yet it was so small that I built out a thing that looked like a superstructure to look kind of like it, that like quadruples its width and height and everything else, so that it wouldn't look just sad.
Yeah, a little bit stacked like Legos, I think.
Yeah. And I would have liked a tower that like stacked more and wasn't as wide, but you have to get it needed so much water. So much water.
Hey, you practically built it over the, you know, just the entire ocean here.
And I did. I built it over the largest section of ocean on the map. And it's all this. I mean, if there was any reality to this, I would probably be affecting like the height of the ocean here. I would have to be starting to like lower it at least regionally. Get really weird flows and tides and stuff because how much would actually, I mean, they give us real units.
Doesn't it run by liter?
No, it's by cubic meter.
Oh,
how much would 200,000? Actually, I think it's more like 300,000 or 400,000 cubic meters, because I don't think I have the nuclear plant calculated into what I had said before. I'll double check. I might have had the nuclear plant in that. But it's definitely into the hundreds of thousands. Like, maybe look like a reservoir compared to a lake every minute. I mean, it probably isn't a full lake every minute. That would be...
Let's see. A cubic meter of water is 2,200 pounds.
Wait, what?
1 cubic meter of water weighs 2,205 pounds.
So, like 2 billion pounds of water a minute? 200,000? No. No, not 2 billion. 200 million
Let's say, 'cause
pounds.
it's 2,205 pounds.
Man, this is why you have a spreadsheet. You do not trust people with math. You're gonna ask someone to multiply 200,000 by 2,000, and they're gonna say 2 billion, and just like, I guess it could be true.
What? Really? That's what you're going to... That can't be a question people ask. How heavy is 1 pound of water?
I mean, you're doubting that people could ever ask that? I mean...
Well, I wonder how much this 12-pound bar weighs.
Yeah, I am getting a little lost in my own spreadsheet. I normally look at it on a computer and not on my phone, and phones aren't the easiest to spreadsheet on. I feel like 200,000 might be right, though. Wait, I know, I remember the part, Stupid thing. Or, wait, no, I do need it this way. I remember...
Does that work?
I don't know, it makes me
Smack
feel
it.
better. Sure makes me feel
Makes
better.
it go faster.
Yep.
I don't think these are CRTs.
Oh yeah, 230,000 cubic meters is the right number for everything totaled. Spreadsheet of a spreadsheet. Oh, don't tempt me. Could you program Excel in Excel? Is it Turing complete? But I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, check like Bear Lake. What's the volume of Bear Lake or something? You know, a moderate sized lake. How quickly would this drain it? But yeah, and the higher up, I already used pumps for the second layer to. You have to use a second pump to get higher.
According to my calculator, that's every minute.
Yeah.
That's 440,615,000 pounds of water.
Okay.
Per minute.
It's amazing that these supports can hold that way. You know, that future technology, it's amazing. And I definitely never had it just floating without the supports at any point. That would be silly. How would the physics work on that?
Alright, Bear Lake has 1.75 billion cubic meters of water. It can hold at its highest level.
1.5 billion, and so 1.5. Wait, I can just make Excel do it here. Excel, be a calculator. 1, 5, 1, 2. I don't like typing on phones. We're
Neither
doing
do
math
I.
on phones, but you know, when you have to, you do what you must. I think that is 1.5.
See, I watch people and they're like holding and they're like double thumbing their phone, just typing like mad, and I'm like,
No, you were supposed to. So, it's betraying me. I don't know what I will do. Okay, this equals 1, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divided by. I have a feeling it's going to be maybe an hour. So, more than an hour. I need to convert seconds to...
According to this, that is 203,000 goes into 1.7 billion, 8,374 times. 0.4.
Wait, how did I get it that far? Wait, what numbers did you use?
203,000.
230,000.
Oh. Then I made an oops.
36 minutes. It would drain Bear Lake in 36 minutes. A good sized lake.
I was gonna say, Bear Lake is a fairly large, and it can be really deep if it ever gets full.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the Great Lakes, but compared to most other lakes, it's big. Good sized.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 36 minutes.
It's the Caribbean of the West, don't you know?
Yeah. What marketing agent said that?
It's on a billboard if you come into town.
Oh, that is such a statement. I never knew the Caribbean was freezing cold.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what it says it says, visit Bear Lake, the Caribbean of the West.
Oh. But yeah, that's at that rate. I mean, this looks kind of like more like an ocean. I don't think you could actually drain it, but there should be some like serious flow of water coming. We should have some whirlpools and some other nonsense. And there literally isn't room inland for. There aren't any areas that have enough water for this kind of thing. Those tend to run into problems even for things that don't use nearly this much amount of water. And you go higher, but even the second level of this, it gets high enough that you have to add a second pump in. And at some point, the energy demand of your pumps would start to become a problem. Individually, they don't use much, but when you have thousands of water lines, if you're taking more than one up, you could be talking about tens of thousands of pumps.
I think that would look kind of funny, though, if the water drained from the ocean, because the pipes aren't flexible. You just have your floating pontoon pumps just dangling in the air above the water.
I mean, I've never seen any animal life in them, so at least we wouldn't be killing all the poor little fishes.
That is true. Nothing lives in the water.
And the whales, the land whale...
I was gonna say, whales are on land.
Yeah.
And the man rays are in the air.
Yeah. The flying manta rays. Yeah. Just love to see all this stuff moving. All the little moving bits. And then I get very frustrated if I ever see a yellow light, but I'm working on that in myself. It's at some point like 90, 95, 98% efficiency has to be enough.
This isn't going to make you go back, is it?
I can't. I can't do this again. It can't continue. Like I said, like the last 400 hours has just been chasing down. Wait, why is the one block at the end of this out of the 50 blocks not running at full speed? Because it's when we're seeing yellow lights, the way I have this set up, as it goes through the service corridors over in places like over here, you have lines of the different resources, and then it pulls off, and it does a priority pull off. Every junction is they have little mergers that will always send one direction first. So if, on this part, if anything's not going to have something, it's going to be the one on the end. And then I have, in each of these, it's the same logic. It then goes through another set of priority. So when you see one, it's not like, oh, there's one, there must be, that means this whole line, this whole section must be off a little bit, and I'm just not seeing it. You'll only, it all gets concentrated into one. So, I don't know, we'd flown through under here and seen a steel thing, and they were off. That steel one has been off so many times. I don't know whether it's the oil having a slight thing somewhere or something. But it's just the one. Because if there was any more deficit than that, you would see two. Or, the one wouldn't get any, and then the next one would be a little short on what it's directly short on is compacted coal. But it's always the end one, except for one thing in a power plant somewhere, but that's because of liquids. Liquids I can't quite do the same way. So if you, and I tried to make it as visible as possible, so if you see one, and boy, we're going to see one, aren't we? We're going to see two. Curses. That's two out of this whole section, and I tried to make sure it was the ones on top and stuff, so that I wouldn't miss that. 65. I don't like that. And that's 35. Yeah, something's stalled somewhere. Probably in that direction, involving turbo motors and nitrogen. But it doesn't hide it. And so you see the one or the two, and it means that you're off by 1 or 2%. Each block that's off is like a couple of percent that you're off. And I bet that one's, I'm going to make a wager when I look at this, it's not going to have enough turbo motors. Cooling system. Okay, no, that's a different problem. Yeah, that one's baffling. Cooling motors are made in-house on this one. For that to be off, wild things have to have gone wrong. Aluminum has to have died somewhere. Which hasn't happened in like the last 300 hours of working on that, so yeah, I don't know. But even with that, it's almost certainly over 400 million awesome points. Maybe it dropped down to 380. Maybe you're as low as 90%, or 10% not running right. But at the scale, it's still massive.
Yeah.
And and every time you kick it, it starts working again for the next 4 hours. And then there's another little thing. Usually not that problem. Usually nitrogen somewhere or oil somewhere being off by like 5 or 10, which amplifies a little bit. Those being off, they have a lot of leverage over the whole system. But I mean, we can go check. I bet there's still. And there's so much inertia in the whole system, which also makes it hard. The nuclear pasta over there, to get it running full speed from dry, just to pause its production, say it has nothing in it, and you're just putting in its precursor ingredients, I think would almost hit 24 hours to fill it.
Oh.
At least 12. I know it was at least 12 because I think I only filled it from half and it was 12. At any time, like just the last line or two went dry, it was 4 or 5 hours. It was a nightmare. To just to get it full again. So it will be a little. It won't prove too much going to double check the production up there, because there's so much inertia and so much. I want to say stockpile, like standing stock in the different factories, that it doesn't necessarily tell you much, but my goldenness, little golden lifts. Golden lifts, and it really could be the engine braking a little bit. It really is pushing beyond what's supposed to be. It could just be, imperfections in my planning, and it could easily be belt problems. Like, there's just so many thousands of belts. 2,500 kilometers of belt. There's room for mistakes to have been made. And another 700 kilometers of pipe. I routed all those pipes. Did all of this just so the pipes wouldn't have to go long. Still 700 kilometers. Built the whole thing over the water so there wouldn't be long pipes. And it's still just outrageous. And this is a fun one. You'll notice this going up and down. That isn't the input varying. That's the simulation rate varying.
Oh.
Because we were moving around, flying, looking at stuff, it's lower. And then you get back and you look at it and it levels off at a higher level. And the counters are way more reliable measure. Yeah, 118. It should be 117 point something and 96. And that's probably more rounding because they bounce a little. Yeah, so you jump up to 98. It's all right on the numbers it's supposed to be. Eventually it won't be because obviously there's shortages. But it'll still probably be 105 on the ballistic warp drive and like 88, 89 on the servers. You wouldn't think the servers would stay that high, but for some reason they just always manage to stay a little higher. They don't quite go down in proportion. And the fuel rods, just casually. And the heavy module frames. In the earlier updates, the people would show off just with the heavy modular frame builds. Just, I built the biggest factory. I made something that makes 100 heavy modular frames a minute, and there are now some alternates to make it easier, but also that's a lot of heavy modular frames. They're not worth much, but it's a lot of them. They're resource intensive. They take a lot of iron and a lot of limestone to make each one. And then just a couple miscellaneous things that I put in to try and eat up resources. That's what these are. Assembly director systems. They give a decent amount of points and just mostly used iron and stuff. Oh, whoa, hey. Is it full? Hey! I'm getting some teleporter overflow. Teleporters use the fuel to stay open. And I hadn't had this filled and overflowing. So now I have some singularity cells going into the sink. And so much concrete.
Yep.
Like,
there's a lot of concrete.
Like each of these, I dramatically wrap it around, add just one more thing to the belt, wrap it around to make it look bigger and bigger and bigger. Because it is the important stuff, and make it go faster and faster in its little whirlpool. The concrete, each of those is only going around once. There's just a lot of concrete. And it's only like a third of the concrete or the limestone. The rest is being used in other things. Yeah, see, it gets up here and it just starts to stabilize. I could. This is the testing rig. If you want to know, this is the only place that has screws. You know how annoying screws were?
Yeah.
I managed to find alternates to remove all of them.
Oh.
And I mean all of them. There's not a screw loose in that factory, except these ones. And then I would run a stopwatch. There's not much point. It'll be running slower, and I'll bet you could almost just, it's easier to just calculate it off of the sink. Or I actually have a theory, and this is a theory, that the simulation holds up till you hit 15 FPS. As close as I've been able to tell, every time I've measured it, the amount of slowdown was the same as the current FPS divided by 15. So if it was running at, 0.8, then that's what the FPS would line up with. But I can't. I don't know. I'd have to test that on more computers and stuff. Or a developer would have to say something. The beauty of that thing's just so big. I haven't looked at all the angles, I guess. I have all these viewing platforms, and I didn't even take us through them all to see just the... Okay, we did go through that one.
And you gotta give it a second.
I'm not patient.
This coming from the guy who just said, "Do you know how long I have?"
The dumb point holes in my logic here. I did try with my... Okay, so this was my cosmetic vision. I gave it an attempt. I tried to give the sense that this is the foundation of a tower that is going to be just even more ridiculous.
So that's what the scaffolding is for.
Tried to make it look like it's the whole base growing up. Because otherwise it's just a giant slab of concrete that makes no sense. If it's the base of a tower, well, it's a stretch, but it's something. I tried to retroactively make the whole thing make sense. Oh, that's one of the little... Also, to expand the factory, it wasn't all going to fit, and I couldn't ship it all back as, like, the raw iron and stuff. So, around there are little factories that make the heavy modular frames.
No.
Just scattered around to eat up some of the unused resources. Oh, the desert. That is just yoinked. The whole map's yoinked. Grabbed every resource shipped. And in the ultimate statement of ultimate efficiency, I have, to the greatest degree possible, maximized both the resource production and keeping all the animals alive.
Oh. You didn't kill any of the chargy beasts or spitty beasts?
Oh no, I killed plenty of them, but to the maximum degree possible, I've let them have their space.
Oh, okay.
We're really maximizing everything here.
By the way, I want everyone to know that's not their official names. That's just what I call them. Chargy beasts and spitty beasts.
Concrete open bar. Yeah. Well, and this isn't one of the viewing platforms, but where is... Oh, you can only kind of see it. There's a factory over there. And yeah, I was not like I did not pretty up the resource yoinking. And you can see some of them seem to go in really weird ways, but I needed the different resources to end up at the right train stations, because moving it between them would quickly cause problems if you had to move any amount. There's some movement, but I tried to minimize it as much as possible. And so sometimes I did silly things like send a resource that's here to a train way over there. Okay, if it wasn't this one, then it has to be the one next to it. I don't need labels for these. I don't need signs.
Of course not.
I remember exactly... Oh, crap, this isn't the one I thought it was.
Don't need labels.
Don't need signs. I know exactly where I am, and sometimes where other things are. Trying to get us out just to one viewing platform. Here's this coast. Here's a bunch of the concrete. There's so much concrete. So much limestone. They put so much limestone on. I think in part because it's not it's only partially used in like the main chains of resources. For like the ballistic warp drives and stuff. But it's mostly used for, base building and cosmetic stuff, so they just we'll just throw twice as much as anyone would ever need, so they can build as much base and all this other stuff at the same time. And then I come in and I'm like, no. It's all just gonna be turned into stuff. Oh, this is what I wanted. This is one of the points where I was looking out at the base and I'm like, it's a biome. Let me move. I guess from here. The way it just blends in the distance.
Actually, yeah, it does. Do it. Those concrete pillars you've built there almost look like dead trees. Giant dead trees.
Ruins of the Forerunners or something. And it just the size and the shape of it just blends in with all the other bits that you're like, oh. It just looks like part of the landmass.
It does, and because it's built over the water, it technically is a new landmass.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of concrete in there. There's a lot of land. There's probably 150,000 concrete slabs in that, 2 meters deep and 8 by 8 meters the other ways. Oh, there you can see a little factory, a little factory, a little factory. There's a little factory over there, some more over there, making concrete and heavy modular frames. And then just every single node being yoinked by into trains. just everything else into trains. And that part actually looks way better than it should. I'm glad I went back. For a long time, there'd been a point where I was trying to see if I could get it to run nicer. I had removed like every concrete from under all the train stations, and all of that was just completely floating in the air. It wasn't good. It did not look good. Like I can tolerate a lot, but that one was 100%. 100%. the ones hidden in caves, 100%. Until it stalls a little bit. Somewhere there will be one that's at 90%. Once those bits jam, they might already be jamming. 100%. I can't remember if this measures off the central or off of these. Maybe both. No, just off of the sides. 100%. 100%. Yep. Train stations floating on their little stilts. Being very nice to all the wildlife. I mean, this isn't Victoria. We're not
Exactly.
just bulldozing.
You can kill them and their neighbors won't care.
I mean, yeah, oh my word. They don't keep getting stronger and stronger, and it caps out at a certain point, but the evolution factor. So much. I mean, there's so many resources on this map. Half of them in places that are just annoying. Places with stupid giant ants that are radioactive.
Oh, come on, those are the best ones to fight.
No, they're not. They're the ones I hate the most. I think we don't need to get rid of mosquitoes. We need to get rid of giant 10-foot tall ants that can jump 80 feet high. Probably more than 80 feet high. And radioactive and hate you.
Sounds like a Fallout boss.
Yeah. Really annoying. And they don't stop following you. You can't jet back away from them fast enough. I mean, eventually you can, but you have to go, out of the biome. And the swamp and the red forest. The red forest, the swamp in this kind of area is just all a mess with those things. The giant, bigger chargers aren't actually that bad.
No, they're not.
But the ants, they jump. I have had them jump off of those cliffs, follow me and land and keep following.
Oh.
They have the most ridiculous jumps. One could probably jump from... maybe I need to give it a go. Almost certainly jump from that cliff to here. It's
quite the jump.
Yeah. And it's a nuclear power line. I know, because I actually colored all the nuclear stuff, so I wouldn't accidentally cut it or put any other things on them. So if power ever goes down, in theory, if power goes down, it will do it very gently. It will sacrifice the different parts at the proper times, and then try to bring the nuclear plant on, then the fuel power plant on. I don't know that I've made a deal out of this fuel power plant. Look at this. This is obviously peak aesthetics. No one's ever done anything as impressive as that. I mean, look how real that looks. No, I wanted you to let me fly up this. I don't want to have to...
You don't want to take the elevator?
I don't want to take the elevator. I built this I built this to use once for in a bit, just to look cool, and so that it wouldn't be floating platforms. I actually don't know if it even will this one work. This one might work. It won't let me fly. Wait. I'm smart. Don't question that statement.
I was gonna say something, but I guess now I can't.
One advantage is there having been multiple people and then me dying constantly. For most things, there's a multiple of them stored away. All the people, all the gear for people. Oh, I already grabbed it. Okay. I definitely won't run out of fuel. Come on. Well.
Is it gonna hurt?
What if we just try again?
Well, then you're probably gonna die. You only can survive that fall once.
Well, plan will work. I just needed to get back one way or another.
Pioneer?
I thought of it the second after the first, or during the first one. Like, you know. No, I don't want to actually use my jetpack right now. Terrifying thing. Ah, darn it. I didn't have lever back on. You only keep the stuff you're actually wearing. And I have to do filters. Some of these places are radioactive.
Just look.
I mean, man, that nuclear plant.
What's a little radioactivity?
Where you're making all the fuel, you're reprocessing it, and stacking it double high. You can get a little spicy, but all right. And then I wanted to go through this one. I think. I'm sure.
Oh. Okay.
I know where each and every one of these leads, and I definitely remember how I marked them and all of that stuff. Yeah, that section is all just is a fuel power plant. So many of them. Though the bulk of the power, if I remember right, is still through the nuclear. I think nuclear 630 megawatts or gigawatts, and then this is maybe like 500 or something. Just so many little buildings. If you wondered why there was not steel, dang you. Compacted coal is a byproduct of my fuel making. Everything's a byproduct of everything else. Everything's to get all those most efficient bits. It's a lot of stuff like this. You're reusing things. Like I think a lot of people will. You'll get like resin as a byproduct of plastic. I think a lot of people just think that to balance things. I think that's a pretty standard way of dealing with that. You can. Not if you're trying to push for the most. Nope. You gotta use every scrap.
Except concrete.
Concrete, yeah. I know rubber is a byproduct of like half of these. I'm trying to remember what it was. There's a whole thing where there's something that comes up quite often that I think it's like heavy oil or some heavy oil residue or something that gets used a little bit in a lot of recipes, or in some key recipe that gets used in a bunch of other stuff. And one of the byproducts of that is polymer resin, and you can't waste anything because you're right on that bleeding edge. So all of it gets made into rubber and shipped out, and if the rubber line ever backs up, half of the blocks in this thing shut down.
Oh.
Half of it just goes boom. There's quite a bit where one thing, and it's part of why I say that it's just like little bits at the end that aren't running, because if it wasn't just little bits at the end, everything would shut down really fast, because everything is so heavily connected in order to get just those little efficiencies, that if when one part goes down, after a little bit just everything's down, which I know because it happened a lot. I didn't manage to get it right a lot, so it just kept happening. Fields of plastic and rubber here. I've got the blocks marked out.
I did notice that.
Just kind of where they start and where they end mostly. You'll see just like a whole chunk that's just like high-speed connectors, and then a whole chunk that's the supercomputers, and it gets it down to like 12 or 14 different blueprints. I really narrowed it down a lot, and almost all of them are just taking in the raw ingredients and stuff, and you only have a little bit of the intermediate products to keep track of, and it is still an absolute nightmare at this scale. The combination of alt recipes that you need to use to hit like 480 million, boy, that I can believe that people would eventually do it. I don't know if I've seen any evidence that anyone has, but it uses every single recipe, pretty much. It might miss like one or two or something, but it just uses everything, and I'm sitting here using like 20 and this is the level of complexity. I'm like, oh man, I don't know how you're gonna have to be really careful in your planning to get that one right, to get everything, all the resources into all of that balanced right. I can believe that people eventually do it, but I don't think anyone has as of yet. I don't think anyone's pushed higher on the awesome points, and you're never going to push higher on the building count. Any sensible design, you're going to overclock, and even if you didn't, you're not going to underclock more than I have in order to get everything to line up. Or at least not by any significant amount. And if you ever tried the one setup that could go farther would be there's one that they've calculated out that would be running everything at 1% to drop the power usage a ton. And by a ton I mean it's probably only like 20%. There's no way a computer's gonna keep up with it. That's gonna be 10 times easily what the number of factories that this is, or buildings that this is. And you can see here we have a very good CPU, 12 core 7000 series Ryzen CPU. You're not pushing 110 or 100 times this scale. which was what the title was about. This is the largest possible factory by a variety of definitions. It's using all the resources on the map. It's as many buildings as you ever sensibly would, and it's getting close to as many awesome points as, the highest scoring, as it were, base you could have. You could have a lot more decorative elements. There's the one that uses the Christmas event items that don't have the same limitations for resources. They make resources out of thin air that someone has pushed bigger. But I think that falls into a different category, kind of a thing. And that's another overflow. Yeah, it's overflowing. Whenever one of those is full, it means something's off, but not enough off to jam everything, which means it can't be off by too much, because it jams so easily.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Then you have to find the jam.
Yeah. So many belts.
Bryan, it is 11 o'clock
Yeah.
local time. I should probably be taking you home.
I know.
And I think we've shown a fair bit of the factory.
Yeah. I've been going in circles for a bit. Not just like flying in circles, but speaking in circles. I love it. I love it so much, and and Daniel's had to hear all of this so many times. He may not have seen it, but he has been hearing. He has been hearing me.
Ah!
Oh, dang it! Death crates. We have to go out in style. Crashing the frame rate and then looking down from above. Oh wait. And if I do that, I have to do... No. Well. What will be, will be. Whatever height we go to is the height we will go to.
Fix-it property will not function outside of fix.
It is. I think the whole thing is I've been guessing that that's about 5. It could be 4 kilometers.
It is quite a ways. I think if it's 8 by 8, I think I would go 5.
Yeah. When you're measuring a base in Satisfactory in kilometers, not meters, it's like ha 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 ha. And in that is packed 2,500 kilometers of belts and 30,000 production machines.
Yep, ride a conveyor belt from San Diego to Indianapolis.
Yeah. And at this site, you get to see that there's a snarling pit or whatever it is, whatever the monster is. See, if it was at full strength, we would have bounced off of that. And it's really just letting us hang there for quite a while. That was a good,
We're practically
good height.
in space.
That was a good height. Maybe I put too many things on it and launched it too high by default. think a lot of people also build factories over here. I don't think there's as much water. There might be, but... And boy, water really becomes a limiter. You need like 2,000 pumps, water extractors in order to... You don't want to see us land in this other place?
Oh, we are, but I think it might be a good place to...
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you everyone. This has been Poorman 973 and...
Bryan!
Yay! And I hope you all have a nice day.